Good morning, New Zealand. It is Wednesday morning. Welcome to Daybreak. Good morning. It's the, 28th of May, middle of the week, just about at the end of May, just about into winter, and you can already feel it coming on. All right, let's get into the news. And Winston has said no. No. He's not going anywhere near, now this is a key thing. He has said that he's not going anywhere near Labour, but Chris Hipkins. He's not going anywhere near Chris Hipkins, but if they change the leader, then he would consider a coalition with them. And of course, the election is still 18 months away, and already the fights, the political fights, and the bartering and the negotiating has begun. It's going to be a busy 18 months, especially next year, election year. And in some ways, it's quite right for Winston to say no to Labour and Chris Hipkins, because the base of the New Zealand First vote is a social conservative vote. It's quite clear, and it's quite clear from the policies that are coming out from New Zealand First. So why would he want to be associated with Labour? Probably the question is, should he even be associated with National, given some of their liberal leanings and the fact that they're not backing up a lot of the social conservative policies that Winston has been putting up, for example, around definition of a woman, for example, and woke DEI in the public service. But anyway, Winston has said no, so it means that Labour is clearly aligned with groups, normal groups like the Greens and Te Pāti Māori. Normal groups, yeah. We will come back to the Greens in a minute, but we will watch that space, and I suspect Simon and I will discuss that a little bit further on Political Playback tomorrow night, about why Winston has come out so early and basically put the knife into Chris Hipkins' back. If there's going to be a leadership coup in Labour, if Labour wants to win back power, they may have to rethink who their leader is. Interesting to see the latest ratings from Radio New Zealand. They have plummeted, lowest level in more than 5 years. And the thing to remember is that Radio New Zealand is state funded. It's funded by you and me. I don't listen to it, and probably you don't either. But it is funded by the taxpayer. And if they're losing listeners, then the government should be asking, well, should we be investing in it? My argument has always been, actually, it should be left to survive on a commercial basis. And if people listen, then it can survive, but it shouldn't be propped up by the state. And especially when it pushes such a strong left-wing agenda. So when it's not interested in balance, and when it's losing listeners, which is quite ironic in itself. Interestingly, in the latest trust ratings, Radio New Zealand slightly improved in its trust. But I suspect that that's not because its overall trust has increased. It's just that as its viewers or listeners decrease, it's getting the hardcore loyal listeners. And of course, they're going to believe everything they hear on state radio, aren't they? So, watch this space. The other one losing their ratings is Health New Zealand. Health New Zealand, generally, most public services post on most social media. For example, Daybreak, Solid Ground with Simon, Political Playback, Straight Talk. We go on every social media platform we can, whether it's Twitter, which is now X. We go on LinkedIn, we go on Facebook, we go on YouTube, even TikTok. I think we go live to, and we also repost stuff to Instagram and Threads and Blue Sky. You've probably never heard of some of those. Well, Health New Zealand has decided that they're going to walk away from X, which is Twitter, and they're going to go to Blue Sky. Now, you've probably never heard of Blue Sky. I categorize Blue Sky as kind of, this is a really interesting graph. So the blue represents the number of people on Twitter or X, the blue, and the red represents the number of people on Blue Sky. Blue Sky, I call, it's kind of like the crybaby channel, where people who don't like the fact that Elon Musk owns Twitter, and the fact that no longer is it left-leaning and it's open speech, free speech platform on Twitter, they've decided, no, they don't like that. So they're going to throw their toys out of the cot and they're going to go to blue sky. And that's exactly what the Ministry of Health has done. And in fact, a lot of the legacy media have done it as well. You will find that One News, Radio New Zealand, Stuff, they don't post on X anymore. They basically have thrown their toys out of the cot because of the Elon Musk factor. It wasn't a problem when other people owned Twitter and Facebook who were left-leaning, but it's just when Elon Musk came in. So there's that graph. That just shows Ministry of Health is ignoring the big blue audience, and it's just going to that tiny little audience there. Just back to the Greens, interestingly, and I just wanted to talk about this so that you could see these billboards again. So these billboards are put up by the Sensible Sentencing Trust, and of course it was after Tamitha Paul, the daft Green MP, and you're probably saying, well, which daft Green MP, Bob? Tamitha Paul, she talked about defunding the police, looking at an approach. She was going to a speaking and engagement. I think I've shown you that video, and she wanted to talk about defunding the police. And so, of course, Sensible Sentencing Trust jumped on that, whoop, whoop, defund the police, and which is based on rapping, because Tamitha Paul is very into that. Also got photos of Chloe there, and you can see big billboards around the city. Well, the Advertising Standards Authority came out and said that complaints have been partly upheld against the billboards, because obviously Green supporters got upset by this. They said that some consumers would be misled into thinking that this was actually a Green Party billboard. Some consumers said that it misrepresented Green Party policy. Well, that's questionable. They said the language and tone were racially charged. I'm not quite sure why. Is it because of the word "da"? Defund da police, or whoop whoop? Is that a racist term? I don't know. I better be careful. They said the advertisements would cause harm to the MP and the Green Party's reputation. Look, I don't think advertisements could cause harm to the Greens' reputation. They're causing harm to their own reputation by the way they act. And they said the advertisements could incite anger, which could cause harm. Oh yes, a billboard will incite anger, which will cause harm. Anyway, I just wanted to talk about that story because the Advertising Standards Authority says that those billboards can't be used anymore. So I'll just keep showing them, shall we? And we'll get our money's worth out of it. This was an interesting story that I saw just out of Newsroom. And it's not so much the story, but it's what the media, legacy media, are doing and what you need to be aware of. So this article was on Newsroom. It's a left-wing website. I don't know if you ever go to it. I just go to it occasionally to check some stories, see what they're talking about. And there was this interesting article by two authors where they're talking about the fact that often politicians aren't listening to democracy, aren't listening to petitions or to referendums, which of course I'm a big one for. They've ignored so many referendums, including the anti-smacking referendum, 87%. John Key ignored that one. So they're saying politicians are disconnected and they need to listen more to what some of the polling is saying. Now, here's the interesting thing. In the story, it quoted some of our research on three strikes. And it said that we had commissioned some polling on three strikes, which found there was support for three strikes. But you'll notice there, and I've highlighted in yellow, it says one poll commissioned by Family First NZ, an anti-abortion Christian lobby group. Now, the fact that we are pro-life, not anti-abortion, pro-life, the fact we are that has nothing to do with what that sentence was talking about, which was polling commissioned on a justice issue, three strikes. It kind of like was just a negative serve at us. Now, the interesting thing is, when I next checked, it was gone. And so I contacted the authors and asked them, what's going on here? Was the original slight aimed at us in the text, in the opinion piece? It wasn't. It wasn't. Newsroom had actually inserted a negative attack on us in an article written by some other people. And when they were called out on it, they had to remove it. It really just shows you just how distrustful the legacy media are, and Newsroom in particular, for doing that. I mean, that was just a low shot. And they wonder why their trust is tanking. Just overseas, interesting story. Nigel Farage has pledged tax breaks for married couples. He says it's because of the plummeting birth rates, and the tax system needs overhauling to incentivize marriage and help couples afford more children. Boosting birth rates would create a bigger homegrown workforce, so less immigration. He is expected to argue, and reliance on foreign labour. And so it basically means that the one spouse wouldn't pay tax on the first £25,000, which is what? That's about 50,000 New Zealand. And the other would enjoy tax-free income of £20,000, which is 40,000. So the first 40,000 of one spouse would be tax-free, and the first 50,000 of likely the mother or the other spouse would be 50,000. That's a great policy. Currently, they pay 20%, starting at £12,000, which is 24,000. Now, they were talking about the fertility rate, and they showed this graph, and it shows that, the UK's fertility rate has been decreasing. That shaded line on the left is World War II. And then around the early 1960s, the rate started dropping. Now, I was interested to check New Zealand, and same thing. You'll notice there that the peak was around 1960, 63. 1963, golly, that was a great year. It was a great year, 1963. Anyway, 1963, and it started dropping from there, fertility rate, and now it's in the negative. So we're not actually replacing our population. We do depend on immigrants. Anyway, Nigel Farage is doing very well, and the reason he's doing very well, look at this. Look at this graph here. That top blue line is UK Reform, which is Nigel Farage's party, and he is outpacing the red, which is Labour, and the Conservatives, which is the previous government party. That's the dark blue line there. Fourth, below the Liberal Democrats. Media aren't reporting this. It's all anti-Trump and pro-left-wing parties in Canada and Australia, but they won't talk about what is going on in the UK with Nigel Farage. Watch this space. Really quite entertaining. Interesting story from Australia. A academic psychiatrist, Andrew Amos, says that the conversion therapy laws in Victoria, which is, Melbourne is part of, left-wing Victoria, he says they should be repealed, as they should be in New Zealand, as it is the necessary first step in reversing the harms being done by gender-affirming care. You might remember a couple of weeks ago I talked about a case where the court in Australia actually told off gender-affirming specialists and doctors for transing a 12-year-old kid, and they actually stopped the transing of the kid at the request of the father. Just have a listen to what this academic psychiatrist says, and he refers to the case of the 12-year-old being trans.
So these are laws, they're called conversion therapy laws. I think they're a big problem. I do think they should be repealed. There's a big case, Reed Devon, a few months ago, where essentially the justice noted that the father of the gender-confused boy in that case found it almost impossible to find a therapist willing to deal with young Devon's gender confusion with therapy instead of with harmful medications, puberty blockers and hormones. So in exactly the same way, many therapists are terrified that if they have an honest conversation with a gender-confused kid, they'll be sued under the conversion therapy legislation. So this basically leaves kids and their families entirely dependent on what is called gender-affirming care through the public gender services, despite all the problems we know that they have. So I think repealing conversion therapy legislation across Australia is the necessary first step in reversing the harms being done by gender-affirming care.
Yeah, and exactly the same should be happening in New Zealand as well. Basically, conversion therapy is still legal in New Zealand. It's just that only if you do the conversion therapy towards LGBT and transing kids. But if you try to stop and affirm kids in their biological sex, our politicians have deemed that illegal, and you could be locked in prison for up to 5 years. That's how deluded our politicians are on this issue. It's shameful. Now, funny video of the week, and I don't know if you saw it, but it was this clip of Macron, the French Prime Minister, He's getting off the plane and the door opens, and next minute, a friendly, loving shove from his wife. And then he realizes the door's open. Oh, bonjour. Hello. And then comes out. I mean, now look, it is funny to watch, but because of his reaction. But there's two interesting things. Oh, firstly, he said that they were just joking. Macron has told the media that they were just joking, and he was taken by surprise. I bet he was. And then, get this, he blamed the Russians for manipulating networks to prop up the rumors and make the video go viral. No, the video didn't go viral because of the Russians, Macron. And he referred to the virality of the clip as planetary catastrophe. No, it's not that. It's actually just humor. But here's the interesting thing. Imagine the reversal of the roles, because I checked the media and One News didn't even cover it. 3 News showed it. I looked at general media coverage in New Zealand. There wasn't a lot of conversation around it. Imagine if it had been the reverse. Imagine if it had been Macron doing it to his wife. There would have been hell to pay, literally. Imagine if it was Trump. It would have been leading, breaking news stories all day, every minute. And so it's an interesting look at just how it differs, because the wife did it to the husband as opposed to the husband doing it to the wife. So, yeah, very interesting just to watch that one. One other really concerning thing, got a lot on today. We put out a media release yesterday because we were alerted to the fact that the Ministry of Health are miscounting the number of people dying from euthanasia. And it's actually been shown that they're having to correct their figures. Now, Simon O'Connor has done a very good Substack on this, and you can read our media release on our website. But for example, in one quarter, they estimated that there was about 75 euthanasias, deaths, and they got it wrong, and it was almost double that. Now, it raises the whole question, if we can't trust the Ministry of Health on counting how many people are being killed through euthanasia, how can we trust them on whether those people are meeting the criteria to even qualify for euthanasia? And how can we depend on a review of the law if we're getting dodgy statistics? The Ministry of Health is not covering itself in glory. Maybe that's why they've gone off Twitter, because they really don't want to be accountable to the people. My blog yesterday that you might want to check out, I did a little bit about the media's moral panic over tradwives, because the media are panicking over tradwives, and it's actually quite funny. They do some podcasts and they panic about the far right and the Christian white women who are making bread and are baking healthy stuff and going on Pinterest and posting photos and braiding their child's hair. Anyway, it's quite a funny blog. Check it out. On a more serious note, also just back to the Ministry of Health, they reviewed this, and I've done an analysis of this on McBlog. They reviewed the abortion law 5 years on. It's a shocking document. It basically celebrates abortion, celebrates the fact that they've increased, wants more access, and doesn't say anything about the rights of the unborn child or trying to decrease abortions. Oh, and the thing that it's most concerned about is the stigma around abortion. The stigma. It's a healthy stigma, because killing children in the womb isn't a good feeling for anybody. Nobody likes it, and nobody should like it. So it's a healthy stigma against abortion. And they also moan about the fact that the workforce is so low because most medical professionals don't want anything to do with abortion or to do with the euthanasia as well. And so they're struggling to find the workforce. So have a look at that McBlog as well. So there we are. There's a lot of homework for you. A lot of material covered. Simon will be here tomorrow morning with Daybreak, with Solid Ground to go into more depth. And tomorrow night, Simon and I will do political playback. We'll look at some of these political items and have a bit of a discussion. Sorry, team, I can't access the comments today, but I'm sure you'll tell me exactly what you think of me. So thank you very much. Anyway, you have a great Wednesday, and we will see you Friday. Cheers.